In the first part of this book, Those Who Hid the Sun, which served merely as a prelude to uncovering the series of manipulations and techniques of deception, we explored the story of creation from a scientific perspective. Starting with the Big Bang Theory, passing through the theory of evolution, and the subsequent doctrines we studied in our education, not merely as hypotheses, but as if they were indisputable truths, elevated to the level of axioms. Even after stripping away the embellishments that conflict with our religious beliefs and attempting to reconcile the language of science with that of faith, these theories remain an illogical and unconvincing proposition, one so implausible that even inanimate objects, were they to possess intellect, would recoil from it. Applying the four fundamental modes of thought we previously examined, scientific, philosophical, religious, and mythical, we find that, in this matter, myth has donned the guise of science, seeking to persuade us of notions that no awakened and discerning mind could ever accept. This is especially true given that philosophical thought, which stands as the arbiter in this debate, dissects and refutes these notions with remarkable clarity. Thus, there must exist an alternative narrative of creation, a narrative more rational, more compelling.
Let us, then, explore the account presented from the religious perspective. But before anything else, it is worth remembering that none of us were eyewitnesses to the inception of existence. We did not see with our own eyes how everything began. Our endeavor, therefore, is merely to approach the matter from all angles, or rather from both perspectives, scientific and religious, allowing philosophical reasoning to stand as the impartial judge between them, revealing which is the more logical. Furthermore, it should be noted that both past and forthcoming discussions are built upon what has reached us, whether through divine revelation, through man-made religions, or through the theories proposed by scientists, chief among them the theory of evolution. This theory suggests that humanity is the product of mere cosmic chance, emerging from atomic dust left in the wake of the Big Bang, progressing from bacteria to bony fish, then to amphibians, eventually reaching the stage of primates, surpassing it into early hominins, and ultimately arriving at its present form, distant from the features of its supposed ancestors. Before he began to think, shape stones, develop his vocal apparatus, and produce complex sounds, before he mastered speech, communication, and the exchange of knowledge, man continued to progress until he reached the moon. Or rather, he claimed to have reached the moon.
According to this view, humanity evolved into a state of consciousness on its own, as a result of natural selection, as if nature had chosen mankind alone to develop while leaving all other creatures behind. If so, perhaps we should wait a few more million years. Perhaps we will witness an elephant composing poetry, a cat crafting musical symphonies, or cockroaches inventing jet planes. This is the essence of Darwin's famous theory, which, unsurprisingly, is rejected by believers who regard it as inherently atheistic. Yet it is not only the faithful who dismiss it. Every rational mind rejects it as sheer absurdity, a myth that defies logic. Because the existence of life as we perceive it and the evolution of man as we know him are undeniably the results of a meticulous design and a guiding hand. Throughout history, humankind has sought to interpret and explain creation and this unseen creative force. While the Abrahamic religions converge on a nearly unified vision of creation, man-made religions, such as Hinduism, present a different perspective. For instance, Hindu texts such as the Rig Veda, part of the Vedic scriptures, and the later Puranas, describe the universe as being created and destroyed in perpetual cycles, much like the endless loops depicted in the Matrix. In Hindu cosmology, Brahma is the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer, preparing the cosmos for rebirth. To them, the universe follows a triadic cycle: creation, preservation, and dissolution before the cycle begins anew. Hindu mythology also speaks of a cosmic egg known as Brahmanda, literally Brahma's egg, which emerged from the primordial waters, considered the foundation of existence. From this egg, the universe was born in its embryonic form, known as Hiranyagarbha, or the golden womb. With the explosion of this egg, the entire cosmos came into being: galaxies, planets, stars, and living creatures. This concept appears strikingly similar to the foundations of the Big Bang Theory.
Ancient Greek mythology, too, offers its own creation narrative, the tale of Chaos, the Great Void. It is said that chaos was the first entity to emerge in the cosmos, predating all creation. It represented the primordial state of existence, a boundless abyss of disorder and emptiness, before the world as we know it came into being. From this primordial entity emerged the first elements of existence: Gaia, the Earth Mother; Uranus, the sky; Tartarus, the underworld; Nyx, the night; and Eros, the force that binds all things together, along with other fundamental cosmic beings. And through the union of Gaia and Uranus, the Titans were born, along with the first deities and other celestial entities. It is evident that this myth formed the foundation of the Greek understanding of the universe's origins, inspiring their philosophers to explore the interplay between chaos and order in their philosophical works. Gnosticism, on the other hand, a belief system centered on spiritual awareness and hidden knowledge, offered a vision of creation based on a dualistic reality, a lower material world and a higher spiritual realm. According to Gnostic thought, the material world was not the result of divine perfection, but rather a consequence of disruption or error, for its creator was not the unknowable supreme God, but a lesser being known as the Demiurge. Often depicted as an ignorant deity, the Demiurge is said to have fashioned the material universe without full comprehension of the spiritual realm. Notably, in Gnosticism, the supreme God is referred to as the One or the Source, a concept that once again evokes the imagery of the iconic film The Matrix. Furthermore, Gnostic teachings view the material universe as a prison for the human soul, which originates from the higher spiritual realm, and liberation from this confinement comes through gnosis, spiritual knowledge that enables the soul to return to its divine origin, freeing it from the chains of the material world. Finally, Jewish mystical teachings, particularly those of Kabbalah, as expounded in the Zohar, offer yet another perspective on creation. Kabbalistic thought envisions creation as an interaction between the divine and existence itself.
According to them, the unknowable supreme God, Ein Sof, initiated creation through Tzimtzum, a process of divine contraction, whereby he withdrew his presence to create a void in which the universe could take form. Creation was then manifested through the Sphirot, 10 divine emanations representing the attributes of the Creator, such as wisdom, strength, justice, and mercy. These emanations serve as the bridge between the supreme God and the material world, forming a cosmic balance upon which existence depends. However, during the act of creation, some of these vessels proved incapable of containing the divine light, shattering in the process. This cosmic rupture led to the scattering of divine sparks and the emergence of chaos and evil in the world. And the process of mending these shattered fragments, known as Tikkun Olam, is regarded in Jewish mysticism as humanity's ultimate purpose. In this way, Gnosticism and Kabbalah converge on the notion of a transcendent, immaterial supreme being, yet they diverge in their interpretation of the material world. While Gnosticism perceives the physical realm as the result of a cosmic mistake, a prison for the soul from which escape and return to the divine origin is the ultimate goal, Kabbalah presents creation as a divine act of contraction and balance. In this view, the material world is an integral part of the divine order, though in need of restoration, and the task of repairing it is humanity's foremost duty. However, upon closer examination of Hindu, Gnostic, and Kabbalistic teachings, one may discern a striking commonality, as though they all stem from a singular source before branching into diverse expressions. That source appears to be the ancient pagan philosophies that sought to embody the divine, to grasp its essence, yet without acknowledging the singularity of the one true God, He who is beyond comparison and beyond human comprehension. No matter how advanced human intellect may become, it will never be capable of conceiving the divine, just as a blind puppet can never envision its maker. And to God alone belongs the highest similitude.
Thus, Islam rises above these intricate and bewildering speculations, offering the most straightforward articulation of creation, reducing it to a mere 2 letters contained within a single command, be. So, believe it or not, in the beginning there was God, an eternal existence without beginning and without end. Now, let us seek to understand Him through reason and logic alone, and recognize how His existence is not merely self-evident but surpasses even the notion of axiomatic truth itself. A tree was once a seed, and that seed was once a tree, and the tree before it was also a seed. And so the cycle continues step by step, stretching infinitely into the past. But for how long? If we claim that this chain of existence extends all the way back to God, then who, in turn, preceded Him? Though this may appear to be a question, it is in fact the answer itself. Logic dictates that every sequence must have an origin, and the chain of creation must necessarily have a first cause, an initial force from which all other causes emerge. It is inconceivable, and indeed illogical, for this sequence to regress infinitely, for such an idea would stand in direct contradiction to the very principles of reason. Thus, God is not merely a link in the chain, He is its very beginning, the first cause. And it is illogical to assume that anything precedes Him, for this chain is the chain of creation, and its first cause must be a creator. He cannot be both creator and created simultaneously, for such a notion contradicts the very principles of logic. These two attributes cannot coexist in a single entity. The creator is uncreated, and the created cannot create. One must either be a creator or a creation. If He is the creator, then He was never created, making Him inevitably the beginning of all things. If He were created, then He could not have been the originator, so whence came existence? Whence arose the very chain of creation itself?
This is pure rational thought, independent of belief or disbelief, and any mind that contemplates must inevitably conclude that there is a first cause for all causes, an original creator of all things. He made Himself known to us, proclaiming, "I am God, your creator, eternal, without equal. I give life and cause death. I am the ever-living who never dies." Have we seen or heard of any God besides Him possessing such attributes, apart from impostors who perish through the ages? Creation exists. Therefore, a creator exists, and we have known no creator but God. As for the notion that blind chance brought forth all things, that a single particle exploded 14 billion years ago, giving rise to the cosmos, and that we human beings are nothing but stardust and self-assembled DNA that miraculously transformed into bacteria, then into bony fish, followed by amphibians, reptiles, apes, and ultimately humans, this is a proposition of staggering naivety and superstition, unworthy of even a child's reasoning. So, if we were to accept that creation emerged in such an absurd manner, then we must also accept that an explosion in a printing press could randomly arrange letters upon a page to form a poem by Tagore. This is how Dr. Mustafa Mahmoud, God rest his soul, likened the ridiculous notion of coincidence shaping the universe. Indeed, many Western atheists have all but abandoned this refrain, realizing that denying God is an assertion devoid of logical foundation, and even a small child can present the simplest proof of his existence, for he is manifest in every atom within us and around us. As the Almighty declares, "This is the creation of Allah. So show me what those other than Him have created." In the simplest terms, if there exists another creator besides God, let him step forward and make himself known.
In any case, let us proceed with our journey through the story of creation from a religious perspective, allowing logical reasoning to be our guide. And it is worth noting that some of what follows is based on ancient narratives that range from truth to falsehood, and their inclusion here does not imply absolute belief in them. Let us begin with the immortal head in this worldly life, the being who swore by God's might to lead all of humanity astray, except for God's chosen servants, Muklan. The term Muklan in Arabic with a kasra on the L does not refer to those who have sincerely devoted themselves to God, but rather Muklan with a fata on the L, meaning those whom God himself purifies and delivers from the clutches of the accursed one, delivers them through true knowledge, deep understanding, free thought, and wisdom. And whoever has been given wisdom has certainly been given much good. Let us begin with a simple question. Is Satan a disbeliever in God? Do not be deceived. This is not as simple a question as it may initially seem. It requires careful thought and an understanding of the linguistic meaning of disbelief, kufr, in Arabic language. If disbelief in God meant denying his existence, then Satan would not be a disbeliever, for how could he deny the existence of God when he has engaged in an extensive dialogue with him? Linguistically, kafir means concealment. One might say, kafara a thing, meaning he covered and concealed it. The farmer, in linguistic terms, is a kafir because he buries the seed in the earth, hiding it so that it may grow. Likewise, a small village is called kafir, referring to a place secluded from sight and distant from the people. From this root comes the English word cover, meaning a veil or shield. From this perspective, Satan is indeed a disbeliever, the very embodiment of disbelief, not because he denies God's existence, but because he recognized the undeniable truth and chose to conceal it. He swore by God's might to lead humanity astray after he was cast out of divine mercy for refusing to bow before Adam. Yet, upon deeper reflection, we see that both Satan and Adam made mistakes, Satan through his defiance, and Adam through his transgression in eating from the forbidden tree. So why did God accept Adam's repentance and not Satan? Was this being then wronged?
You will often encounter this final argument among those inclined toward atheism or agnosticism. It is one of their key approaches. They attempt to portray Satan as a victim, despite the fact that he neither admitted his fault nor sought forgiveness. In addition, he absolved himself of blame and accused God. He said, "My Lord, because you have put me in error, I will surely make disobedience attractive to them and mankind on earth, and I will mislead them all." As if it were God who deceived him, rather than his own vile nature. Thus, his punishment was justly deserved. In contrast, Adam acknowledged his mistake and repented, and so God forgave him. How, then, can the two be equated? Yet, a significant question arises. Whence did Satan derive such confidence that he would take such a solemn oath? He said, "By your might, I will surely mislead them all." If a ruler swears to inflict hardship upon his people, his oath carries weight because it stems from his power. But if an ordinary vagabond were to make the same oath, people would merely laugh at him, for he lacks the means to fulfill it. Since God granted Satan no dominion over humanity and described his schemes as feeble, then, once again, what power did Satan perceive within himself that emboldened him to make such an oath? The truth is, this power was not innate to him, but stemmed from his profound understanding of human nature, of mankind's arrogance, frailty, relentless desires, and unceasing struggle against those very weaknesses. It was upon this vulnerability that Satan played his game against humanity, the being whom God created with his own hands, breathed into from his spirit, and before whom he commanded the angels to bow, not in worship, but in honor.
The story begins in an age far removed from our own. It is narrated, without an authenticated chain of transmission, from Ibn Abbas, may God be pleased with him, that the Almighty created Sumiyya, the progenitor of the jinn, 2,000 years before the creation of Adam, peace be upon him. God then said to Sumiyya, "Make a wish." He replied, "I wish that we may see without being seen, that we may vanish into the earth, and that our elders may become young again." God granted his wish and settled him and his descendants upon the earth. Although the tale of Sumiyya's creation is not authenticated and is attributed to Israeliyat, narratives of Jewish or biblical origin, it remains established that the jinn inhabited the earth long before Adam, for as long as God willed. However, they transgressed, some of them tyrannizing over others, waging wars in which blood was shed unjustly. We derive this understanding from God's words. When your Lord said to the angels, "Indeed, I will make upon the earth a successive authority," they said, "Will you place upon it one who causes corruption therein and sheds blood, while we exalt you with praise and declare your perfection?" He Allah said, "Indeed, I know that which you do not know." It has been said that jinn is the plural of Jan, its singular form being Jinni, with the feminine Jinniyah. The term is derived from Jannah, meaning to conceal, hide, or cover. This is echoed in God's words. So when the night covered him with darkness Jannah, he saw a star. Yet we must pause at the phrase "and sheds blood" and ask, if the jinn were created from smokeless fire, what blood was there to be shed?
The scholars and exegetes address this question, affirming that the substance of human and jinn creation, clay and fire, is undisputed, as God states. He created man from clay like that of pottery, and he created the jinn from a smokeless flame of fire. Likewise, the authentic hadith states, "The angels were created from light, the jinn from a smokeless flame of fire, and Adam from what has been described to you." However, the original substance of creation undergoes transformation. Our human bodies are composed of flesh and blood, not of their initial clay form. Similarly, it is possible that God altered the jinn's fundamental composition into a form that contained blood. The jinn lived on earth for as long as God willed, but when they spread corruption and shed blood, God sent an army of angels against them. They slew many, and the survivors were driven into exile, scattering to islands, the depths of the seas, and the vastness of the oceans. The angels then returned to the heavens, carrying with them a young jinn named Azazel.
It was said that he was a devout worshipper of God. Others claimed that he belonged to a group of angels known as the jinn. However, the idea that he was an angel is untenable, for angels are not bound by divine obligation, nor do they possess free will. How then could Azazel have chosen his own path? When God willed to create a successor on earth, either to succeed the jinn or for mankind to succeed one another, he created Adam, peace be upon him. Just as humanity has formulated various theories about the origins of the universe, so too has the creation of Adam been subject to speculation.